What's up, everybody? Lou from Hypocritic back on the show floor here at PAX East 2022. We are talking with Bennett from Bomb Shelter Games about their underwater metroid-vania adventure, Depths of Sanity. Thanks so much for taking some time this afternoon. So for the uninitiated, I know we gave it a little overview right there. In your own words, what is Depths of Sanity?
Well, I mean, you did really give it there. We've kind of given 3 words for it. It's an underwater metroid-vania, though over time we've kind of remixed the last word. We're calling it a nightmare now, not necessarily an adventure. You're still going on an adventure, definitely, because, I mean, what's a metroid-vania without an adventure? But the nightmare element kind of comes into the storytelling that we're doing. To kind of give you an overview of the story, you play as Abe Douglas, a commander in the GOAA, which is our version of the NOAA, legally distinct. You sent a crew out into the ocean to investigate the bloop. If you've ever heard of the bloop, it was this phenomenon back in like 1995. The quick version is, there's a very loud sound in the deepest parts of the ocean that like everybody, all kind of oceanographers heard from around the globe. They're like, what is this? In our game, we've dispatched this crew to go find out what it is. They've gone missing. Abe Douglas has decided to take it upon himself to go and find what happened to this crew because one of the crew members is his son, Clay. So this game will take you on an adventure deep into the bowels of the ocean, trying to find your son, the crew that he disappeared with, and uncover what is kind of drawing them and you deeper into the depths.
Nightmare, I think, is an apt term for this. You look at the art style of the game, you work on the art yourself, and I think it conveys that sort of sense of dread and chill like you would expect from somewhere deep underwater. Can you talk a little bit about how you arrived at this specific art style for the game and how you went about crafting the visual look?
Yeah, so kind of like twofold. So in terms of the pixel art aesthetic and that kind of approach, we kind of tried to take a SNES approach to the visual stylings of the game. Really just kind of like, this is a Super Metroid style, like Metroidvania, but like Super Metroid, kind of the main impetus and like inspiration there. So aesthetically, in terms of the pixel art design, that's certainly inspired from the Super NES. What you're looking at this demo, which is actually our current chapter on Early Access, Whalefall, Chapter 5, is inspired by an actual like phenomenon in the ocean. When a whale dies, its carcass descends to the bottom of the ocean, and when it lands, all of the like meat and everything on it becomes this like minor ecosystem temporarily for all kinds of sea creatures and sea life. And when I learned about that doing research for the game, I was like, this has got to be an entire biome for the world. So what we have in this demo here is like, you are basically just, the point in the game that you're at, it's fairly far into the game, 5 out of 6 chapters. You're essentially in what is a whale's graveyard, but because this whale's graveyard is so full of whales, it's essentially just like this pulsating mass of organic tissue and bone that you're trying to navigate to find out what's going on. Simultaneously, this big bad that we've sort of been building up towards is seemingly like infesting this organic ecosystem that's kind of down there. That's it's a little bit of the creature we're building for this game, and a little bit of like real world research into what underwater is really like, is where we got a lot of not only the inspiration for this level, but a lot of the levels we have in the game.
Very cool. Sounds very in-depth. Lots of research, it sounds like, went into this. To touch on the gameplay briefly, Metroidvania-esque sort of mechanics where you're balancing a lot of offensive and traversal mechanics, getting out of the submarine and swimming around, the harpoon where you can sort of go through currents. Can you talk a little bit about how the team put those gameplay mechanics together to kind of blend them all into something that's engaging and fun no matter what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because that's actually where we spent the core game design time for the first like 2.5 years of developing the game. We've been doing this for like going on 6 years now, so it's been a long development process for us. But a large part is the fact that we're making an underwater video game, and if you know anything about underwater levels, they're dreadful. Like a lot of people have been like, this looks like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles underwater level, which is a death sentence if you want to sell a game, right? Well, nobody wants to play that level. So it was very important for us at the very beginning to make sure that like whatever we're doing, we're using momentum-based controls. We're doing, it's got this floatiness to it, which you kind of need in order to sell the submarine. So we didn't want to eliminate that floatiness, but also like it can't be unplayable. So we refined, we tweaked, we refined, we tweaked. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't a bullet hell, because If it was too precise, it would have been too easy. If it was too imprecise, it would have been too hard. We brought it to conventions and open spaces and small like indie play crafting events and things like that. A lot of the actual Boston indie like gamer community helped us develop this game essentially. We got to the point where we took it to the Boston Festival of Indie Games in 2018 and we won for mechanics, and that's sort of when we knew that our the core controls that made the sub feel right we had nailed, and it was time to start making sure that the other pieces that we were putting into the game were dynamic and fun. We've got 7 weapons and a multitude of gadgets that range from both like offensive, like you said, but tow cable is one of them. You've got a backdash, you've got a forward dash, you have a shield that's more like defensive, a little bit offensive. And then we also have an entire other mechanic based on light and your sonar to be able to see faint silhouettes. It's to sort of make this very long story slightly shorter, the main problem for us to solve from a Metroidvania standpoint is the fact that most Metroidvania style games are jump based. Double jump, triple jump, wall jump, whatever you have, higher jumps. That was from a gameplay outside of just the like actual control mechanics. That was the biggest problem solver for us. We have a multitude of ways to do that. Light, currents, and like the tow cable and the sort of sonar, they kind of help with those traversals as well. We tried to minimize the amount of just like get this colored weapon to shoot this colored door to get through, because that like gets the point across but doesn't make you feel like you're doing anything meaningful. You're just getting the right color coordinator.
Getting it in front of players, you mentioned how important that feedback was. Can you talk about how that has gone from your perspective in terms of what's it like getting the game in front of players, sourcing that feedback, watching them play it? How's that all play out from your perspective?
Well, the first thing is you got to have super thick skin. Though, to be fair, I think early on we knew that what we were putting in front of people was very much a working, or not like a workshopping kind of thing. So we're talking like the first version that we ever brought to a show floor was in 2016. We brought a initial build of this game to Play NYC, an event, the first Play NYC event in NYC, if you're familiar with that event. If not, irrelevant. We brought a build of our game that we were just kind of messing around with. We had like 3 art assets in because we were showing off a different game at that event, and we wanted people to try out this next thing that we were working on. And since then, it's been a process of just like take any and all feedback in, internalize it, discuss it, figure out what we need to do, iterate, put out another version, go talk to other people. Rinse, repeat, keep, change. There are iterations of this game in the past that are absolutely unplayable. There are iterations of this game in the past that are vastly different and interesting in a way that we didn't end up ultimately pursuing because it didn't quite make sense for what we were trying to do. The biggest catch is a lot of times when you bring a game out like this that you're trying to get feedback on to like refine and make mechanically sound, gameplay sound, you get a lot of great feedback that helps you do that. You do get a lot of great you do get a lot of less useful feedback of people who want like when a game is that raw, it has so much potential to go in so many directions that like before you know it, people are asking you to like, oh, is this going to be roguelike? Oh, is this going to be kind of like resource-based survival like? And we were trying to, the main thing was kind of trying to like identify the best Metroidvania gameplay feedback we could and kind of like filter out the feedback that is good feedback for a different kind of game. I think that's probably the biggest place that you can get into if you're trying to develop a game sort of like from a crowd standpoint, is not getting too muddled, and before you know it, you've just got every single feature in a game, and like, go join a AAA studio if you just want to slap every single feature into a game and ship it. But yeah, I think that's kind of how it went.
Great insight. Feature creep is scary, right? So last question then, you mentioned Steam Early Access before. What is currently playable out there for the game right now? When do you expect the full product to be out, and on what platforms?
That is that's a very good question. So right now we are on early access. We've got we've got 5 total chapters published on early access. We have a 6th one planned. That is the final chapter, and it comes out on the 2nd of May, actually. Like, it's right around the corner. We're super pumped about it. The game is essentially finished as of May 2nd. Well, as of right now, but we release it on May 2nd. What that means is from start to finish, you're going to be able to play the game from beginning to end. We have like secrets that are in the game. It's a metroid-vania. You got to have secrets. Those are in there. The game, from a gameplay standpoint, is functionally complete and will be released on May 2nd. We do have plans to do some polish, make sure all of our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. Hopefully that takes us about 6 months. So about later in the year, you're going to see the full release on Steam. And then we're porting, and the ports will take however long they take. We're hoping to get Switch and Xbox out by holiday 2022, maybe Q1 2023. But that's the plan. Xbox, shoot, I'm losing track of which ones. Xbox One, not the Series X, Xbox One, and Switch and Steam are our platforms.
Thanks for watching. For more content from the Hypocritic crew, hit that subscribe button or visit us at hypocritic.gg.